There is a scene etched into the memory of a generation. In a crowded tavern in the village of Bree, a hobbit stumbles. A glint of gold slips through his fingers, and as the ring falls, time itself seems to stretch. The world dissolves into a gray, spectral shadowscape. And then, a voice, an ominous rasp that echoes from the dark land of Mordor itself.
I see you.
The message is brutally clear. To wear the One Ring is to light a beacon, to sound an alarm that screams across the continent, straight to the ear of the Dark Lord. The great eye, lidless and wreathed in flame, will fix its gaze upon you. But this raises a profound and troubling question, a question that challenges this very image. If Frodo, with a single accidental slip of the ring, could trigger this terrifying response, how is it that his predecessor, Bilbo Baggins, used it freely for 60 years? How did he vanish at parties, evade pesky relatives, and even sneak through the shadow-haunted eaves of Mirkwood, a forest where Sauron himself, then known as the Necromancer, had his fortress of Dol Guldur? Why was Bilbo invisible to the Dark Lord? The answer lies not in a flash of cinematic magic, but in the subtle, creeping dread of Professor Tolkien's original text. To find it, we must untangle the film from the book and understand the true, terrifying nature of the ring's connection to its master. Let us return to that moment in the Prancing Pony. In the book, when Frodo puts on the ring, the effect is instantaneous and shocking, but deeply personal. He vanishes from the sight of mortals, entering the Wraith world. He sees the people in the room as dim, gray shapes. He hears their astonished cries, but there is no thundering voice from Mordor. The eye of Sauron does not appear. The Nazgul do not suddenly screech and turn their steeds with newfound certainty. So how did the Black Riders track him to Bree? The book reveals a method far more chilling in its mundanity. They did not need a magical flair. They used fear, intimidation, and a network of spies. Men like Bill Ferny and Bree, and other watchful, frightened eyes on the road, sold information for coin or to save their own skin. The Nazgul's pursuit was a matter of grim, relentless detective work, guided by a faint, unnerving sense of the ring's presence, not a precise pinpoint on a map. This distinction is everything. The ring is not a simple alarm bell, and this is why Bilbo's long history with the ring was possible. Think of his journey. He used it to escape Gollum deep beneath the misty mountains. He used it to evade the orcs of the High Pass. He used it to slip past the great spiders of Mirkwood, and to move like a ghost through the halls of the Elven King Thranduil. Later, in Erebor, he used it to steal past the great dragon Smaug, and to carry away the Arkenstone. And for decades back in the Shire, it was his private secret, his tool for minor mischief. Dozens, perhaps hundreds of uses, and all of it, a complete blank to Sauron. The Dark Lord's great breakthrough in finding the ring did not come from a magical vision. It came from the physical capture and brutal interrogation of Gollum, an act of brute force and intelligence gathering, not a gaze into a crystal ball. Now, a reader of the books might pause here and recall two terrifying moments when Sauron did perceive the ring-bearer. These moments, however, are not contradictions. They are the exceptions that reveal the rule, showing the very specific circumstances required for the Dark Lord to see. The first occurs on the Hill of Amon Hen, the seat of seeing. After the terrible confrontation with Boromir, a terrified Frodo puts on the ring and flees to the summit. This is no ordinary hill. At its peak sits an ancient throne, a relic of the high men of Númenor, built in their days of power to gaze across vast distances. It is a place where the veil between the seen and unseen is thin. When Frodo, wearing the ring, takes his seat upon this chair of power, his vision expands. He sees the movements of armies, the smoke of war rising across Rohan and Gondor. Emboldened, he turns his gaze eastward, toward the land of Mordor itself. And that is his mistake. The book describes a chilling change.
Suddenly, he felt the eye. There was an eye in the dark tower that did not sleep. A fierce, eager will was there. It leaped towards him, almost like a finger it felt, searching for him. Very soon it would nail him down, know just where he was.
Here, it was the combination of three things: wearing the ring, using a potent magical artifact, the Seat of Seeing, and actively directing his thought and gaze towards Sauron's own fortress. Frodo essentially opened a direct line, and Sauron's attention, ever searching, snapped towards it. In that critical moment, another power intervened. A voice in Frodo's mind, clear and urgent, undoubtedly Gandalf, newly returned as the White, cries out,
"Take it off, fool. Take it off. Take off the ring."
It was a duel of wills, fought across hundreds of miles for the soul of the Hobbit. Frodo obeyed, and the contact was broken. The second time is the most pivotal moment of the quest, the cracks of doom. Standing at the edge of the fire, Frodo's will finally breaks. He fails. He puts on the ring and claims it for his own. This was not a mere act of wearing it for invisibility. This was an act of ultimate possession, a declaration of ownership, made in the very heart of Sauron's power, the place where the ring was forged. This time, the reaction was absolute.
The Dark Lord was suddenly aware of him, and his eye, piercing all shadows, looked across the plain to the door that he had made. And the magnitude of his own folly was revealed to him in a blinding flash. Then his wrath blazed in consuming flame, but his fear rose like a vast black smoke to choke him.
In his own domain, the claim of the ring was an act Sauron could not miss. It was a challenge on his own ground. Samwise Gamgee himself seemed to understand this instinctively. Earlier, while carrying the ring through Mordor, he thought to himself that if he put it on there, Sauron would spot me pretty quick. The land itself was imbued with its master's power, an extension of his will, so the ring is not a beacon. But that does not mean it is inert. It possesses a subtle, sinister quality. It does not send a signal, but it exerts a pull. Those who are bound to it, like the Nazgul, feel its presence in a general, unsettling way. Think of the Black Rider, Kamul the Easterling, in Hobbiton. He was led to Bagshot Row, sniffing the very air, a predator tracking a scent. He knew the ring was near, but not precisely where. He was so close that Frodo was within earshot, yet the rider turned back, confounded. The scent was strong, but not a pinpoint. Gollum, too, was drawn by this pull. His impossible journey across Middle-earth was not just skill. It was the ring, a lure in his mind, constantly whispering to him, guiding his path toward its new bearer. And perhaps, most fascinatingly of all, there is Sauron himself. Why, in the Third Age, did he choose to establish his fortress of Dol Guldur in southern Mirkwood? Of all the desolate places in the world, why there? Was it merely strategic? Or was it because, for nearly 2,500 years, the One Ring had been lying just to the west, in the silty bed of the Anduin River at the Gladden Fields? Did Sauron, even in his weakened state, feel the faint ancient pulse of his lost treasure, an echo calling to him from the water? Tolkien never says for certain, leaving us with a chilling and profound possibility. So why didn't Sauron sense Bilbo? Because that is simply not how the ring works. It is not a homing beacon. It is a thing of subtle influence, a whispering lure, whose full power can only be seen by its master under two specific conditions: when used from a place of great power, or when claimed within the master's own domain. This crucial detail is more than just lore trivia. It is the linchpin of the entire plot. Sauron's failure to find the ring for so long allowed the quest to begin, and his ultimate downfall was rooted in this same blindness. Because he could not perceive the ring's location, he was forced to guess at the Fellowship's strategy. And being a creature of ultimate malice and lust for power, he made the only assumption he could comprehend, that his enemies would use the ring. He believed the heir of Gondor, Aragorn, had taken it and was marching to challenge him for mastery of the world. He could never conceive that two small hobbits were walking into the heart of his land, not to claim power, but to utterly destroy it. Sauron was blind, not because his eye could not see, but because his heart could not understand. And in that gap of understanding, a hobbit named Frodo Baggins found the path to victory. If you enjoyed this journey into the heart of the legendarium, please consider liking this video and subscribing to Scarlet Reveries. We are dedicated to uncovering the forgotten tales and hidden truths of this world. What is another apparent plot hole that you believe is actually a moment of deep lore? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Until our next tale, thank you for watching.